Okay, we're started.
Okay, this is a belated start to the fourth Cash Health Workshop, and we're online with Dr. E.Kostova in the Spaceship Institute, as well as Mr. Kesh and a couple of other of the knowledge seekers at the Spaceship Institute. So we'll switch right over to Dr. E.Kostova, and she will introduce the workshop here, and we'll carry on with it.
Hello everybody, and sorry for the delay. Hello from all of us from Spaceship Institute. Today's subject of the health session is the muscular skeletal system, posture, and relation with emotional part of the brain. And on your screen on the live stream, you see the picture which is represented all the muscle system of your body, and you're able just to see how by part the muscles just that added one by one to your skeletal system. Actually, the muscular system is an organ system consisting of skeletal, smooth, and cardiac muscles. The function of the muscular skeletal system is to control movement, to assist the circulation of the blood and lymph, to make a posture, and to take care about the temperature of your body. We are able to separate the different muscles like skeleton muscles, smooth muscles, and the muscle of the heart or cardiac muscle. Then, could you please the picture 2, Vince? Just picture 2 and 3. Okay. I'm waiting. I just explained that the pictures 2 and 3 you make post all together or one by one is giving you perspective that how after the skeleton was built, after the skeleton layer by layer, it's adding you different kind of muscles related of the functions what they do. And above the muscles, you have the skin. So actually, this is 3 main stage of building of your body. So the next picture, number 3, gives you the movement of the body, different kind of, this is like a running. And just to see how the skeleton moves itself, how when you add the tissue like a muscles and connective tissue movement, just organize it, and what is the view of the movement of the bones related with muscles. Each muscle starts from one bone and connected with tendons. Tendon, that's the connective tissue which connect the muscle to the other bone. In that way, different kind of muscles, depending of their shape and organization of myofibers, they control the movement of all bones of your body. Okay, then we go to the picture 3. It's giving you all the muscular skeletal system and the names. Muscles separate because of function. They may extend some joint or some bone, or flexed, or adduct. They separate in the back and front also because of them function. In different part of your body, you have different kind of organization of myofibers, and after they organize like a package, they form one muscle. And this muscle start from one bone connected to the other one, and when the muscle fibers just contract, they move that part of your body. So the next picture, number 5, giving you different shape of the muscle fiber, how they organize around your body regarding the function of that part of your body. So you see the circular shape of your muscle around all the entrance or exit of your body. Mouth is one of the enters of your body. So around your mouth, you need a circular muscle to be able to make different kind of movement, depending of the shape of the subject, what you put inside. Actually, like Mr.Ke said, shape of the muscles depends how much these muscles has to be involved in the pump function of the lymph, and what is the direction of the body part which that muscle supposed to be protect and supposed to be carrying the lymph vessels inside and to pump of that part to be able that muscle to transform the lymph from bones to the lymph system. Okay, so we have also convergent organization of the fibers, multipin, unipinnate, parallel, bipinnate. It's again regarding what part of the body this muscle cover, but mainly function of all the muscles regarding the Ke Foundation technology is to support the circulation of the lymph and pumping function the lymph from the bones to the lymph system. Okay, then we go to the next picture. There you see the difference between different kind of muscles. We have mainly 3 different kinds of muscles. This is the smooth muscle. They are inside of all internal organs like a stomach, small intestine, large intestine, gallbladder, bladder, womb, different tubes organization like urethra, ureter, inside of the part of the kidney, all the vessels, what you have like artery, like a veins, they have the muscle organization through all them longitudinous. So the smooth muscles, they shape it again regarding the organ, what kind of function has an organ where they are placed. They are involuntary because they work 24 hours. Something what Mr.Ke said about the smooth muscles is that their regulation is controlled by emotional part of the brain, so they are not able to be shut down from emotional part of the brain because their control and their base of the all main functions in the body. Their control is from the emotional part, but they are never shutting down. They're working 24 hours. So you never take care and you don't put any conscious control how your stomach work, how your intestines work. They just work without you knowing, and you die without you put attention 24 hours. Other type of muscles, they are skeletal muscle. There are more than 640 in your body. Before the pictures before that gives you the shape of different kind of skeletal muscles. Difference between the skeletal and smooth is that the control of skeletal muscles is conscious, is voluntary, and it's come from cerebellum, the main part, physical part of your body. So the control of smooth muscles is related with emotional part of your brain, and the control of skeletal muscles is from physical part of your brain. And the skeletal muscles, they are striated. They make some kind of line shape when you look them under the microscope. They attach each bone one to another. Then we have the muscle of the heart. This is the cardiac muscle. And the cardiac muscle have a function of a smooth muscle and also the function like a skeletal muscle. So it's regarding again of explanation of Mr.Ke. It means that the cardiac muscle is controlled by emotional part of the brain, and also it's connected with somehow with physical part of the brain. Is it the cardiac muscle is striated, branched in the different shape. It's again regarding what is the function of the chamber of the atrium of the heart, and regulation is involuntary. So it means the heart working 24 hours without your conscious control. Then we go to the next picture. It's number 6. Number 6 pictures give you view of different kind of muscles and what is them organization in shape. So skeletal muscles, they are more long and they stick to each other like a sticks. Smooth muscles, they are more plate and connect to each other with conjunctions. And cardiac muscle, how you see, they have both features. They are long, but also they are connected with the junctions. Then we go to the next picture. This is number 8. The number 8 gives you microscopic view of each of the muscles. It means how the cells, myoid cells inside of each type of muscle, they are organized. It is also regarding their function. So the smooth muscles, they are controlled by autonomic nervous system and they work involuntary. So they are just placed like you see, the myoid cells, they organize it to each other to connect side by side. Then the cardiac muscle, you see the myocyte inside, they're also organized and connect by side, but they have more longer shape. And skeletal muscle just they is so long, but they are striated. They make specific unit which is repeat itself like a pattern. Then I will be show what is this unit. But now just to see how they organize it under microscopic view. So when you look at the different kind of view of muscles, is like in number 8, you are able, if you just think it's not that cells, if you think this is the sky, this is the same view. When you see the blue spots in the picture 9, this is the nucleus in each myoid cells. And through them organization, you are able to see that the nucleus makes some kind of three star formations. It means they are somehow organized 3 by 3 by 3 by 3. It's picture number 9. So it's really interesting. You are able
Is that
also
the right
to
one,
search
Elia?
for number 9. It's interesting. You are able to search for more larger pictures of the microscopic view of the muscles, and then you find out that pattern, that the nucleus, they're organized like 3 by 3, and some unit of 3 just face it, other one unit of 3. I see they are not changed. Okay, so now it's visible for you. This picture is small. Just give a longitudinal and just cut it through, how is it in English, like vertical, yeah, cross section of the myofibers. So you see this, the blue spots is the nucleus of the cells, and they are formed units 3 by 3. Okay. Then we go for the number 10.
Is that the right one, Elia?
Number 10.
I think that's the correct number 10, Vince.
Okay, thank you. Space chemistry?
It's number 11 up there. I think it's number 11 up now, Vince.
If you're not able to find number 10, you are able to show number 11. It's no problem. Several pictures, they show the same things, but in different kind of deepness.
Yes, okay, I'm at the right spot then.
Okay. So number 10 pictures give you the view that each muscle contains packages of myofibers, and each package of myofibers contains different collection of the myofibrils. And each myofibril is consists two kind of fibers. It is actin and mucin. So actually it's representation again of layering of the structure. So one big structure contains packages of small structures. This small structure contains packages of the same structure. That I wanted to show with this picture. Then we go to the picture 11. So in picture 11 is the same, just is giving you view that even myofiber contain different cells. This cell they call the myoblast, and myoblast they are multinuclear cells. They contain more than one nucleus. What is the important? Because with muscles you do a lot of work, and you're supposed to have a energy device in them. Okay, then we go to number 12 or number 13. what is more easy for you, Vince. If you want, go to number 13 directly. Okay, it's number 12, you show it. Number 12 is give you perspective of the action of the muscles. So action of the muscles happen because of them myofibers, actin and myosin. The two kind of fibers in the muscles works because of the calcium release. Calcium release come from sarcomere, which is covered each myofiber. Sarcomere is the position of the calcium. When neuron impulse come through nerve to the neuron junction between the nerve and the muscle and realize neurotransmitter like acetylcholine, then from sarcomere starts to realize to the muscles the calcium. Calcium activate two types of protein who covers the fiber actin. When calcium make a connection with troponin, then tropomyosin, other one protein, contract on the side the actin, and in the actin fiber have some kind of spots where head of the myosin, this is the more white fiber up to blue one. So blue one is actin, the pink one or red, how you see on your screen, I don't know, but the red fiber under the actin is myosin. Myosin, how you see, is have some kind of head. This is the bonding spot of the myosin. So this head, because of the calcium, they start to connect with the actin. During them connection, ATP, this is the actin, this is the active molecule of energy in your body, make movement of the myosin head sliding the actin. So actually these two myofibers, actin and myosin, they just slide each other, and this is the movement of contraction or relaxation of your body. Interesting here is that the smooth muscles they release from their sarcomere calcium in the direct way, but the skeleton muscles release the calcium in indirect way. What you are able to compare with releasing of DC and AC. Then Mr. Kesh will be explaining to you. Here the energy part is come from adenosine triphosphate. I show you, I will tell you in which one picture, because on that picture you'll be have explanation from Mr. Kesh, what is his understanding of energy system. This is number 20, Vince. This is the chemical picture of adenosine triphosphate. Adenosine triphosphate is actually energetic molecule which make possible everything in your body to happen. They call this energy currency base. Is picture 20. So adenosine triphosphate contain in adenosine, this is adenine, this is nucleobus, which is part of the RNA and DNA, then sugar in the middle, what is the ribose, and then 3 phosphate groups. To release the energy, 1 phosphate group of ATP goes out and became the ADP. This releasing of the phosphate group gives to your muscles energy to move. In that case, when we speak about the actin and myosin, releasing of one phosphate group give you one movement of the head of myosin. All your body contains only 250 grams ATP. So 250 gram ATP is able to maintain all functions of your body. Only 250 milligrams. So now I want to give the microphone of Mr.Ke to explain you his point of view of organization of ATP like a base holding the energy of your body, and then I will be follow up.
What happens is that we were trying to explain this yesterday while Elia was trying to organize the workshop. And in a very simple way, as we said yesterday, that we are going to look at everything as a plasma, not a matter, shape and form. In that respect, what you come to see or to understand is a new way to look at the operation of the whole muscle. But for the first time, we speak as a whole, as the structure of what you call chemicals, what we call plasma energy. If one looks at the structure of the ATP, you look on the right-hand side, you see the number of nitrogens. At the same time, you see the carbon bond, and you see the OH and the phosphor. If you look at this structure, not as numbers which is put down in a chemical reaction, or as a unit of just names, you come to understand very rapidly from the right-hand side that this is an active unit. It releases a lot of energy, and this is only due to the nitrogens. The 5 nitrogens on the side immediately tells you there are 5 amino acids. And when you see phosphor connected, go back to what we talked about in the bone structure, presence of fiber. This means that this structure is part of DNA and is registered to be and is replicated directly. So in reality, the energy released is due to the ionization of the nitrogen, and at the same time, the PPs gives you a direct indication that this is a DNA connected to RNA, because the backbone of your DNA is phosphor. On the other hand, we look at this as a plasma and not as elements. So immediately, with the number of oxygens available, we know oxygen is a magnetic binding, as is in the water. There are 2 molecules of water in this structure, and the oxygens which you see as surplus, these are 5 of them, which connects the 5 amino acids together. At the same time, you have 5 carbon surplus, which connects as the communication line between the 5 neural systems in respect to one unit. So when you look at a unit like this from now on, as we start looking at the plasma technology and the plasma component, we look at this as one entity, one unit, which is in reality, once manufactured by the body, it has 5 amino acids, which is each one is a plasma on its own. The 5 amino acids are connected through one oxygen to each other, and at the same time the hydrogen surplus which is there shows the strength of the energy which this unit can release, because the hydrogen is the ionizing factor. In totality, we see that once you take one unit out, which is the OH, you have surplus energy. And that surplus energy comes from the ionization of the nitrogen due to the vibration and extreme ultraviolet, which that appears as the energy which the body needs or the muscle uses. What we try to do from now on, try to explain the three-dimensional effect of every structure. And when you look at structures like this, the minute you see the nitrogen, try to convert these figures into what we do in the nanotechnology and in our plasma technology. Nitrogen is an extreme ultraviolet producer. Phosphor is a connection to DNA. You do carbons, the surplus carbons out of the amino acid bond is the communication between the fibers, and the, it's okay because the pictures are there, they can see it. And the oxygen is magnetic binding. The two water molecules are in the GANS state, which means they are binders, which keep the structure in the shape of liquid, or what we call moist as a fat. So in the totality, not only the amino acid stays as a moisture, the whole structure stays as a moisture, and this oxygen, water, surplus, and hydrogen is kind of energy transfer across electromagnetic field plasma gravitational system. So the cells have a direct effect in how they move and how they operate. The reason for change from 3-phosphor to 2-phosphor is the release of additional phosphor, which in a structure of the DNA, these phosphors link up or match up with the DNA. So every time if there is any change in the structure or use, it is immediately recorded in the DNA. And at the same time, the energy released by the structure to become 2-phosphor is that surplus phosphor automatically takes its place in the what you call the DNA. So every time you see a structure with a P, you understand this is the connection to the, this structure has a connection with your DNA and recording of the structure in RNA. But at the same time, this means that the brain considers this as a vital information to be registered. In a later time when we speak about the structure of the muscles, you will understand the reason for such a continuous registration of information through DNA as a plasma. One of the main reasons is that if there are any defects or any new conversion or what we call mutation needed for any reasons, usually after puberty, if something which is registered on the P is sent to the brain in this manner, it becomes part of your RNA. If this registration of the P, due to its numbers, is done before puberty, and in early stages between like 2 or 3 years till about 10, 12 years, so 12, 14 years when the puberty comes in, this automatically becomes as a conversion unit. which means by puberty it becomes part of the DNA permanently. We see this in a lot of cases. In some cases we have spoken about this, but the energy release in the whole process is dictated by the nitrogen, even though you see it at 5 nitrogen on one side of the whole structure. This is what we try to walk away from. This is what in the new plasma technology immediately should give you the structure that this is a structure from Earth, because nitrogen is part of its component. Then you can see the combination of the carbon and the OH, which is again combination of the structure of the this planet. And in coming time, you will understand these kind of structures to, in a way, allocate and indicate where the other creatures of the universe come from. There is not much difference in the process of transfer of energy. But in the process that if you have K, then you have a different color, but you still have the same combination, most probably with a difference in the P in the DNA. There has been a discussion, and I've been explaining to the knowledge seekers in the respect of the existence of nitrogen in the muscle tissue. And one of the things which we open the books maybe for the first time, and you understand how the structure will change, is if you change, for example, and add in part of the protein chain, what we call in the original structure, cesium and copper. If this amino acid connected to iron, you have a red blood cells, and the color of your fiber tissues are red. But if you had a copper cesium oxide, copper oxide, then the color of your body is blue, or blood will become blue. We see this in the shoe crab, and this structure does not belong to the planet, this planet. So in conjunction, yes, in conjunction with this understanding of the protein structure, for the first time, maybe what has happened in time being in the past, a structure of the cesium copper in an entity, as we always said, the emotional part has a leech on top of it, which is the structure of the arm and leg of human body and the muscles as we see it. And as I spoke before in the other talks, that if we can take the emotional part of the human being into anywhere in the universe and allow it to accept, to convert to the environment of the universe where it lands, it will take the shape of the environmental tissue muscles, or what you call protein, but it still will preserve its essence, and in essence the man will be a man, but maybe with a slightly different 4 hands and 2 arms. So in reality, if you understand this process and understand the shoe crab with the blue blood, we understand this for the first time, that this creature, this animal, has essence outside this planet. This might answer a lot of people's questions in what happens to us if we go somewhere else. We keep the essence, in essence, our blood structure, but our body, the physical part, will mutate to fit the environment where it is. So if you look at the structure, and this is something we spoke before about, this kind of mutation according to the environmental, and I always call that the physical part is a leech which literally gets its information from the emotional part and adapts the environmental and itself to be able to survive. We see for the first time in the structure of the shoe crab blue blood. And this shoe crab, at the moment, if you speak to the officers of FDA, they charge you slightly a little bit more money. It has allowed FDA to speed up the process of whatever you call it, certification of medicines, because it has a higher potency due to presence of the cesium oxides and copper oxide in the blood. So this is for the first time we open the other side of the book due to understanding a new understanding of the plasma. Is sugar crab from this planet? In the shape and form which has adopted itself, yes. But in essence, no. Because it shows its blood. We do not see any other animal with this kind of combination, with this kind of structure. So, in so many ways, this will show wherever we go on the universe, as long as we carry the nitrogen bond which is connected with our phosphor, we will be unable to replicate it because it's become part of the phosphor structure connection with our body. But we will not be able, most probably, to keep the physical part the same as what we have. This is very important. This is a departure from what man have understood, and in so many ways we see the more heavier elements as changing the cesium or copper oxide or cesium instead of nitrogen allows us to deliver a faster, more effective energy system, and as what you see with FDA uses it for assessment of the new medicine. And it has shortened the time by a factor of actually sometimes from 5 years to about 6 months, because the blood is more active. The information which has ordered the combination and the structure of the blood to absorb what is from the environment has stayed the same to guarantee the survival of the emotional part of the entity. But on the physical part, it has adopted the physicality of the presence of the chain of events of the protein which are available on this planet, but it has taken the sequence, the way the emotional part in its origin, wherever it has come from, has used and has not changed. So the structure of the brain of the man, and in so many ways, will stay the same on the emotional side, but it will adopt the material side for its physicality wherever we go. And sugar crab is a very clear example of it. There are another three animals in this planet which show the indication that they do not belong here. Just because we see muscles and we see bone structure, or what we call calcium structure on this animal, it fools us to think that it is from this planet. But its blood, the information transfer confirms that this does not apply to planet Earth. So when you start looking at these structures the way Elia has done, and the muscle tissues and the creation of muscles on the body of the man or animals, as we open the space technology in a direct way, you come to understand, to see in so many ways, as we say he is from China, or he's from Africa, or somebody's from Europe, in the amino acid structure of the life and the way it processes it and stores information for the next generation, we will be able to fingerprint where and how and from where these people come, or these animals, or whatever we call them, entities, have their essence, their source. This is some, maybe a lot of people think this is a point of diversion from what one has hoped, but in a way, if we study the full structure of the energy release and storage and the linkage of the information, this gives us a clear indication that look at the totality of it. They put numbers, and you see pictures of the muscles as Elia has showed us. But numbers does not come together in that way. You see the muscle tissues as a strand, the way it's been shown. Now put nitrogen, carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen of this, all these names and numbers on this, you'll find out you have a strand. This strand is of 5 proteins next to each other. You have oxygen connecting the 5 together because gravitational field or magnetic field in the liquid state of the planet is oxygen. And then you find the surface carbon is the link connection between the 5 amino acids and between them and across to the other cells. So, and the extra hydrogen which you have is part of the energy release system, which is released by the existence and the release of the fiber, what do you call it, phosphor from the chain. Slowly, as I said in the program, in our teachings yesterday, we go to look at the structure as a plasma and not names and fibers. Nitrogen is a plasma, hydrogen is a plasma, copper is a plasma. So we did a calculation about this unit yesterday. It was, I think, about 490, if I was correct, 99. Almost 500 if you count the number of the electrons which are coming in with all these elements. So you see in reality the performance of some 500 protons and neutrons in one cluster. And the way the body treats this as one unit, even if you have a physicality with it, is a unit with so many, what do you call it, plasmas. Now, if you can convert these matters all into a Ganser state, which the body works in a Ganser state, which is all these proteins here are in the Ganser state, as now you see it in the chemical combination and then back in the physiology as a threads of the muscle. You can make and divide from this process 10 atoms or gases in energy level, plasmatic side, gravitational magnetic field of an element which is 50. Or you can make 500 hydrogen atoms from it. It is so easy now with understanding that these materials, these what we call protein, are in the Ganser state, to use the material of the muscles for conversion. That's exactly what is done. The separation of the phosphor and the separation of the nitrogen is in gravitational magnetic field in a Ganser state. And so you can start understanding that the energy transfer, even when you lose one phosphor, is not in the form of energy, as has been in the thermodynamic second law, as has been explained in the literature. It is in the form of the gravitational magnetic field, which the body transfers into in what it likes. And when you get these kind of what they call thermal, energies, this comes, in reality, you've seen this surplus energy, what they call free energy in the body, which is the energy which is freed from release of one phosphor. You've seen this in the conversion of the nanostructure into the Ganser state, which when you connect your batteries or wires, you can turn on a light. And this conversion always leads to a 37-degree temperature of the body of the man. And this is important because now you go from a molecular structure into the plasma, and then the material in the plasmatic state becomes energy of the lymph, and then it releases. That's how the conversion comes in the muscles, and that's how your body is continuously kept at the 37 degrees. All the, more or less all the animals on this planet need it, because that's the conversion rate. And sometimes if you can produce a nitrogen chain, or what you call amino acid chain in the cups which you have, if you measure the temperatures in a specific condition, is about 36 degrees. So we've done this, we have measured this. So in reality, the conversion is in a gas state. Then, as I said for the first time, maybe, as I said before, or maybe with what we disclosed today, with this very simple explanation, the ones who came on no houseboat, they understood the rest. And it's for us, and they spoke about it. Was this animal, or did this animal, what we call the shoe crab, came on a no houseboat, but it managed to convert itself into a structure which it fits it to be where it is and how it is. And then this gives us an insight in the future of the mankind in the space. So those, in a very simple way, why I picked this up, and Elia is showing it, because I didn't want to discuss it yesterday, but I thought now it's a good point to bring it back, and I asked her to put it back in today, is to understand the separation between the physicality and the emotional part. You see, the physicality is embedded in the amino acid, the 5 nitrogen, and the rest which creates the amino acid, and then is embedded in DNA through phosphor link. And then when the phosphor link picks up the information, the positioning, the energy which creates for itself, for its positioning in the structure of helix, the structure of the DNA, creates a positioning and information in RNA, which becomes part of the permanent structure of the man, and with it, then it becomes part of the structure and the working operation between the emotional part and the physical part of the body. This is very, very important for those who will understand what has been explained in the past 10 minutes in the coming years. In time, man will understand, in reality, what has been locked into with the fingerprint of DNA here, with the 2 phosphors. That's why you have the phosphor in the muscle tissues, in the amino acid as it is. And as you remember, in the process of the bone structure, we always said phosphor is produced in the inner structure of the bone, specifically for this reason, and specifically for fingerprinting and matching to DNA in the structure. And then you have the calcium, which is again created and held in the immune system, in the structure of the inner part of the bone marrow. And these 2 always travel together. And that's why Elia explained to you what and how the calcium moves in the boundary, in these layers, in these fibers. Because amino acid in its process as a unit, energy unit like this, or as a defense system or immune system, come and work together, where calcium and the phosphor guarantee the fingerprint of how much immune system, what it's needed, that in the next generation, when the next generation is produced, exactly the protection is set and is there for it to be, doesn't need to learn it again. So slowly, as I said, we start opening to understanding of the plasmatic condition. And here you see one of the example of it. There is the example of the shoe crab. It's an unusual looking animal. It carries a blue blood. And they now breed it because of its blue blood. And its soul, in its what we call emotional part, is very much does not belong to this planet. Even if you look at its structures, it looks like a spaceship with a tail. And FDA has found this blue high energy blood very effective in assessing a work of the new medicines which is developed by pharmaceuticals. And this is what I told in my talks in the past, that in time man will come across other creatures, but we will never have offsprings because their amino acid structure is different and stronger than ours. We can learn from it, but it's impossible to have physical interaction offspring. Emotional interaction offsprings, which leads to creation of offspring, can be done, which I explained in the future. And that is possibility. And if you look in so many ways at the blood structure of the what you call shoe crab, has a lot of similarities to man because it has chosen the environmental condition of this planet. As I said, the emotional part has brought in, and then it has adapted its physical side to it to be able to survive. But in reality, it has never lost its origin, that it had to live off cesium and copper. And most probably this animal did not have a cesium and copper. It had a combination, as I explained, as a plasmatic, which is near to cesium and copper. So it has adopted what is available here, which gives a gravitational magnetic field effect in totality of this entity, and we detect it, we recognize it, and we see it because of its color as to be the cesium, and at the same time interaction in the copper with it. You've seen this blue copper in your some of the reactors if you put them near enough to it with your copper oxides. So now you understand how easy and how close we are to the verge of the breakthrough into another dimension in existence. But we have to understand our presence and how we work first before we can go. When you look at these structures, look at the totality and total magnetic field they produce. I look at different pictures Elia has, how they assemble the hydrogen and oxygen together. But in reality, this structure is a sphere. Then it cannot be anything but the sphere because the fields are together. What we have done today, as I said, with the foundation work has changed from matter into plasma. And we start showing you the presence, the work of the plasma in reality in 3 dimension, not in what you call it, in the flat form as a paper. Again today, this is another departure from what has been. There is nothing wrong with the structure which has been written chemically or the pictures of the fiber which is shown. But now you have to understand in essence how it is created and what is done. There we are, blue blood from crab. And it's the top scientists from what you call it, FDA, which they use this because of its activeness and its energy. We will see, pardon? Yes, we will see these kind of interactions in the coming time as we go to space. As much as this blue blood is interesting to us and different, our red blood is to the people of the space. But it's keeping respect and are valuing the life. That's the whole essence. And that's what you see. Colonization is not going from one village to another. With understanding of the new technology and understanding of how it's done, we will and we are in the process of joining in the universal community. But now we start showing the first signs of interaction. I give the headphone back to Elia.
Okay, I hope you enjoy the great explanation of the Mr.Ke. And then I just want to follow with little more pictures to explain you the function inside of the cells. And then you'll be aware of everything what Mr.Ke told to you about the energy system inside of the muscle. Actually, ATP to become ADP and NMP, this is the storage of energy in your body. And like I said, this is only 250 grams for all your body. Yeah, so now we are in picture
Do you have a picture number, Elia, please?
It's against, yeah, you are correct. Grams, 250 grams.
Oh, okay.
Grams. Yeah, grams. Sorry, it was my mistake. So grams. Okay. On that picture, you're able to see the microscopic view, the laser view of the muscles, how they have again the layering organization of each myofiber, then became the myofibrils, and inside of the myocyte, this is the actin and myosin. In the picture above, three small picture, in the middle one is showing you the gap injection between the cells. This is the gap, how you have the membrane between the cells. They make some kind of adhesion between them to exchange different kind of ions, and then you have a gap injunction. This gap, through that gap injunction, actually, when we discuss the picture with Mr.Ke, storage of the energy. You just store your energy in this gap injection, and then they go through another one. You're correct, just seeing. Yeah, Jacob. So we just discussed how actually the direct currency is coming in the cells, and how they produce when they have in action the alternative currency in them. So this is currents in them. So what is the place to storage DC, and how this DC became the AC? How I like to say AC DC, finally, when they get it, they start to contract. so from the place where is the gap injection, you just exchange the DC between the cells, and when you have the neural signal from the nervous system between the neuron and muscle, when they have again injection, release the calcium, and then the muscle they contract. But you just to never forget the cofactor is magnesium in this movement. Without magnesium, your muscles have not that much strength in the movement. Okay, then we go to the next picture. I will tell you, okay, this is what you saw in the live stream. In the picture number 17, you see the gap injunction between the two smooth cells in your internal organ. So they just face each other. In between fascia, or the membrane between two cells, they just make a gap. It is the same organization how we spoke about the bones. And when I told that it is the same what Armen did and Mr.Ke explanation of the magnets gap, the same construction you will see afterwards when we speak about the neurosystem and organization of myelin. So all the time when you're supposed to transfer some kind of signal, you have path gap. It is important because of organization of DC and EC, just to put in your mind. Then the next picture number 18 give you the electronic microscopic view how axon, this is the cell of nervous system, reach each one myofibrous and make that kind of conjunction. Actually, one axon is able to energize several myofibers. That's why they work like one and they make a unity. This is the picture number 8. Yeah, that's right, Vince. Thank you. So one axon reach several myofibers and they work like one. So in that way they make a more high and density strength. Then the picture 19 show you the myofiber on the smooth cells of the smooth, how they are in relaxation and how they looks like during the contraction, how they change them shapes. And this is only one cell. If you put all the cells just lying to each other, you became the myofibrous and then the muscles. Okay. The next one we just spoke, this is the ATP, the 12, 21 ADP. Other one is the Gibson free energy. It's not important now. Okay, 24. 24 give you the striatation of the skeletal muscles. So you see that actin, myosin, they form one unit, sarcomere. This sarcomere repeat herself million of times. And actually this is the layering of the muscles. When you see the Z line is in the middle of one unit. Unit is in between the A bands. So the red line is your layering. This is one unit working. And this is repeat itself all the time. The same, the 25 is laser microscopic view of the skeletal muscles. It is again repeating the pattern. 25. Vince. This is the same thing. Repeating one unit several times. Okay. 26 is the same. Just I wanted to give you different kind of view. One is from laser microscope, that is 3D laser view, what you see in 26. This is the skeleton muscles. 27, this is again skeleton view from electronic microscope 3D. And you see they are just cutted one muscles and each fiber just stay like a different kind of buildings. Yeah. So you have layering of one big unit to several small units like muscles, myofibers, fibers, cells, and then you have separation of the layering like different kind of repeating of one unit during in one myofiber. This is the sarcomere, which is repeat itself during the all myofiber. And finally, you get that kind of picture. So here we have different kind of making the layering system. Okay, the next one, 28, what you see, 28, this is the electronic 3D view of cardiac muscle. So in that case, it looks like pink spaghetti with some salad in between. So pink spaghetti, this is the cardiac fiber, which is longer, but also striated, what I told you from the beginning. And what you see green, they have a huge amount of gaps between each fiber where they place the collagen. So collagen part, for point of view of the space technology, is place where they store energy, because for work of the heart you need a huge amount, 24 hours energy spending. Okay, then we go to the 29. 29, it's again the skeletal muscle, just to see how each fiber is separate from each other, but they finally make one band, and it's one working unit, because it's so how is in English? One nerve comes to them, one axon neurites one unit of several myofibers. Okay, then the 13th is again the cardio muscle, and you see above of all the fibers you have artery view, how the artery is really looking. Look at it. This is the 13th picture. Yeah, this is the again pink spaghetti, but not bolognese, because don't have a lot of dress up and one arteria above. Okay, and the third one, what you see, this is the muscle tissue around each artery. You see, they're striated, but actually spinning around all the artery. And the muscle tissue is inside of the wall of each artery. It is really interesting shape, because the artery have so different kind of function in our body, and they are the highways of all of our blood. So in them all, the muscle just go spinning around. Okay, and that is the last with artery. About the anatomy, it's everything for me. I just wanted to be short and just to give you the idea about the normal anatomy of the musculoskeletal system. Then Mr.Ke will be followed with explanation, but if you have some questions to me about the normal anatomy, just ask me, and then we'll
Elliot,
go on.
Me?
Yeah?
Okay, sorry, I wasn't sure if you could hear me or not. I did, through the last couple of pictures, especially the one with the, looks like they're stacked on top of each other. So I think that.
Okay, just give me a number.
Number 27.
Okay,
number
I go
27.
To 27. Yeah, done. 27 is the muscle from skeletal covering your body. Yeah.
But it looks like blocks, just basically separating each other in different formations, so making towers, basically.
Yeah, they are separated.
So what are the actual blocks? They're the actual material that's created from the bonds from the hydrogen and the phosphorus?
So could you repeat again?
The blocks that we see. The blocks that we see in the picture.
Yeah, they are separated with fascia.
With what, sorry?
And each block have one innervation. That was important, because when you have one innervation, they work like one unit. Several myofibers, like you see on the block, they have innervation from one axon. So they receive the neural impulse in one go. From that is they have releasing of the calcium in one go. They have contraction of the actin and myosin in.
So I think we lost you there. Anybody else hear me?
I can hear you, Vince. I can't hear Elia. You seem to have lost the contact there.
Okay, so Elia? Oh, yeah, it looks like they need to be calling back. But I mean, what I was trying to say, well, I guess while we're waiting for them to come back online, is that the blocks that we see, I mean, it looks like layers of what we're doing. So when Mr.Ke says that, you know, even though we're made out of plasma, we think ourselves as 2 legs and 2 arms and a head. Really, it's what we've been doing for the last couple of, you know, since we've been taught, making layers. That's what I see here. Does anybody else see that correlation?
I definitely could see the layers correlation. As soon as I saw that picture, it just struck me that it's layers, and it's like little geometric blocks as well. It's a certain geometry and layering, which is exactly what we're doing with the nanomaterials.
Exactly, exactly. And then when you go down to the other pictures of the A bands and the Z bands, so basically this is just more macro. Again, we're looking at layering.
Multiple layers. And it's telling us how to make the layers, essentially, that you need. This is exactly what Mr.Ke was talking about in the last 30th workshop. To my mind, he mentioned 3 different influences, you might say. He used the example of the egg with the egg yolk, and then the sperm, and so there's 3 factors involved, and in that picture you can see you can speak to his 3 factors as well.
Yes, okay, my microphone.
Okay, so we have them back now.
No, I have no microphone yet on the computer.
John, we can hear you.
Can I hear you?
Yeah, we can hear you, John.
Speaker.
Sounds like we're connecting up here.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
We can hear you, yes.
We just hacked all the line. We get a hack for all the lines, so now we're speaking. Yeah, Mr.Ke say that they hack us because I'm speaking, so I'm sorry. Okay.
We were just talking while we were waiting for you to come back, and I was talking about how the blocks that we were talking about, they look like organized layering in terms of, you know, a material on top of another material with another material in between. And then we have we were also talking about the previous picture where there's the Z lines, the I bands, and the A bands. And again, it looks exactly like what we're doing in terms of layering with the nanomaterials, or, you know, it looks exactly what we're doing. It's just a correlation.
It's the It's the 3
Yeah, that's why I choose these pictures, just because they are so visible and for you to understand. But I actually spoke to myself like 10 minutes, and then we realized that we are not connected. So I will repeat what I said. I said that several myofibers, they are connected with one axon from a neurosystem, or which is come from one nerve. So actually they are innervated from one axon. Then it means they have realization of the calcium in one go. Then this calcium produce the sliding mechanism of acting in myosin and releasing from ATP a phosphor, which is the fingerprint to your DNA, how Mr.Ke explained it to you. And then they have one contraction in one go. So when the muscles contract, they inform the DNA, what is the part of your physical brain that is something happen. And actually, if you repeat this move on enough time, this become part of your DNA, and you are able to transform to your kids afterwards. Do you understand? Because ATP release the phosphor. What the phosphor is the fingerprint of your DNA. DNA is the part of your physical brain. So it's become how is in English? Something which is stable. And because of that, it's stable and exists for a long time, you're able to give for your generation. In that sense, you create your postures, your walking habits, your existing in a space. I mean, existing space on your body. How you're sitting, how you're walking, how you're running, is this become part of you during the century because of this movement of the small myofibers releasing of the phosphorus and so on. Do you understand? Can you hear us or no?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you. And
Yeah.
lots to take in, so yes.
Yeah, we try to understand.
I think I understand.
No, you just ask me, I will be repeat just because for you it's really important to understand. Everything in the human body is related with what Mr.Ke explained, and because we have already investigated our human body. So for you, if you look at and understand the structure of the human body, you are able to represent in the things what you do and you supposed to create. That's why I want to be as much as possible clear to you, to help you to understand.
Okay.
So that would be why we see the sponge as in terms of the matter, like the gaps and the holes inside the bone, because that's part of the matter of our system. And that's what we see on our nano layers and top of our copper is the same structure. It would be exactly the same structure in my mind. And then once we make the GANs from that nanostructure, it's exactly what's happening, what we're seeing right in front of us, which is the layering and the structuring of the GANs itself. So the different layers and structures that we create from the different materials are is exactly what I'm seeing here.
Yeah, it's this exactly the same things. Just different kind of muscle, like I say, the smooth one release the calcium for sarcoplasmic reticulum. This is the some kind of collector inside of the each cell for calcium. They release in the direct way, what you call DC. And the cells and the fibers, which is striated, and they cover your skeleton, they release calcium in indirect way, what you call AC. That is just important to know. Can you hear us?
Yes. Just
right.
Okay.
That's just like how we. Sorry, it's just like how we receive the DC and the AC from different structures that we make out of our nanolayers.
And how you convert from one to another. What? Yeah, this is interesting. Mr.Ke will explain to you.
If you go back into the muscle structure of the heart, if you want to understand the process, is that if you look at your nano-coated materials and the GANs material which you put it in, the fibers and the liquid which flows in between the fibers to nourish them is the main factor and the major player in the whole process. If you look at, for example, the heart muscle fibers, which is a mixture of the two, the operation and the energy and the current flow that keeps this muscle or the muscles of the heart in motion and independent of any other part of the body. Now that we understand the conversion of the energy in the plasma of the GANs of the liquid of the blood, then you understand how energy which comes from the lung or from the liquid which enters the blood very much in interaction with the nanolayer structure of the heart, releases the current flow and the energy for the heartbeat. Very much in the DC, in the plasma, in touching the wall, in the nanolayer of the wall of the heart. The energy is transferred back into AC, but in the plasmatic magnetic field flow that keeps the heart going. There has been a lot of thinking and talking about the muscle tissues of the heart, where they get their current and how the current is produced. Now that we understand the process of the heart rate flow of the plasmatic GANS material within the blood cell, within the blood flow in a way, when this material comes in a pulses or enters the heart, the flow rate of the GANS into the chambers, releasing the energy into nanolayers of the heart, releases the current which is needed from the source for the heart to have its current flow. This is why when you use systems to use electric shock to get the heart back, you add to and you replicate the same thing as the heart does in collecting energy and converting it into electric current for its use, for its beat. So in a way, by understanding this process for the first time, you understand how the energy and the current flow for the heart comes. It comes from the blood itself, which is circulating and coming in. It comes in as a GANS, as a DC, which we have seen in your containers, and then in a specific configuration, because of the nanolayering of the heart, the way the heart tissues are, all the muscles are like a nano structure, it changes to plasmatic AC or Magrav AC, and that in turn, due to the point which is with the heart rate, as we were discussing with earlier, you connect your pacemaker to correct the currents which they come and regulates everything but the heartbeat. So in opening knowledge, you understand for the first time most probably how, where the current flow and the energy comes for your heartbeat and why it's independent. And because of its structure that is partially smooth and partially skeleton, then you have the heart which is partially, it's called a mechanical function, and when you get excited or when you have an emotional information, your heartbeat changes accordingly. That's why it carries the two. The smooth, which is the emotional part, and the skeleton, which is the physical part. And that's what Elia was showing you separately, the structure of the fiber of the heart. So it carries both because it's responsible for transfer of the red blood cells which feed the emotional part of the body of the man, which is part of the brain. So that energy is shared between the two at the same time in the same line. As I always said, the red blood cells, even the white blood cells, are taxi-destinated system, carrying systems. So the energy which is shared between the heart in the flat or smooth layers connects the heart with the emotional part of the brain. And on the other hand, the mechanical part, the physical part, connects with the layers or the connections which are skeletal. One has to understand the whole operation of the muscles in the body. In the body of the man, the muscle is not just there for what you call movement of the bones or just hanging there to be. Every muscle, structure of every single fiber in every muscle, every second is controlled by the brain. What we call the physical part of the brain. And this in turn takes a lot of capacity, a lot of work of the brain, the same as when the parts which control the bone marrow and the bone structure. If you look at the structure of the human body, as we talked before in a skeleton wise, you have 3 chambers, 3 reactor cores. One is the head, One is the section of the heart, and one is the stomach and the pelvis, which goes in one way, separated from each other. Is there a problem? It's okay. So, in so many ways, you come to understand the muscles are part of the interaction for control and development of the life in every part of the body of the man. You have lymph in the stomach, but you do not have that much muscle, and not that much immune system materials are produced or blood flows through the bones which are around this structure. Mainly flat. Hip is flat. The ribs are flat. The structure of the bone and the spine is the same. But if you look, everything has connected and has, according to its flatness, the same kind of muscle. But if you look at the leg part of the muscle structure, you have so many muscles going around the femur. The main bone which connects your body to the skeleton, to your leg. And then, if you look, most of the immune system, red blood cells, and every other things, majority of it, is produced in these two bones or the four bones in the leg. And then if you look, there are layers and layers of muscles on top of each other. Each muscle has a responsibility in how it extracts, brings down the fibers, the lymphs from the stomach part, which literally, if you look at it, the muscles are the compression system pushing the lymph through the holes of the bone. So the muscles don't have a function just to be there for physical move. The way they are positioned, the way they move around the bone dictates what kind of limbs are presented to the body or to the bone at that point, that it can pass on through the structure of the bone to become part of the immune system and everything else which you need as a red blood cells and the rest. So in so many ways, the muscles have several functions. It's not just a motion. It's not for your movement. It's in so many structures. The muscles around the body are the pumping system of the lymph through the bone structure. Without them, the system does not work. If you understand how this works in a much more effective way, and all of you, most of you have access to three-dimensional printers nowadays, go and make a three-dimensional bone structure, or a tube, or a cup with your 3D printer, and then put water in it. What you see, the water holds, but leave the cup on a tissue and come back in half an hour. You will see that the tissue paper starts getting wet. Even though the cup looks perfectly solid, but the structure has holes in it because of its construction. Now, if you turn the whole thing inside out or outside in, and put water outside the cup, you will see the cup gets filled up. So, if you change the pressure on one side of the cup, or put the cup in a place where pressure can be applied onto the water, you see your cup will fill up more from one side or changes. Put color dye in it, you will see it. This is the same structure as your muscles and the bone. The bone looks solid, but for the right fibers of the muscle to be in the right place, in the right shape, in the right texture, that they can push the lymph through the bone structure, is the decision which is made by the working part of the physical part of the brain. So when you look at the bone structure, when you look at the muscle tissues, look how they are attached and where they are attached to any bone structure, and how the body has decided to shape them, and why specific shapes are in a specific part of the bone. On the back, on your shoulders, on your backbone, there is no need for a muscle structure what is around the femur. But in this position, on your shoulders, in that bone, you produce a specific kind of a bone marrow which is needed for the use of the lung. For keeping the lung in so many ways, the liquid within the lung, the liquid within the cavity of the chest, disinfected away from germs. It has to be very thin, very, very flat, and it has to have the flexibility that it covers a continuous large amount of material. So you have the flat shoulder muscles, which they twist or they sit on top of your shoulders and on your backbones, behind your shoulders. So the body creates muscles according to what the bone function is, and at the same time what it needs for the bone and the structure to hold. This has never been understood by the world of science. This is why we have so much problems with people who go paralyzed. This is one of the things, even fully in the foundation, we have not understood. Because once we understand this process, we should be able to move any man from a wheelchair. In so many ways, because as we get old and frail and we walk less, the muscle tissues do not push enough lymph through the holes, or the holes get clogged up by other materials over years we lived, that the right lymph is not pushed and the muscle does not have the strength to push the lymph through the holes of the bone to create the bone marrow for us to be strong, to defend ourselves. Maybe for the first time you understand why people who do sports stay active and healthy. The only reason for it is, the major reason for it is, that the muscle tissues, when you're active, push more material, more lymph through the holes of the bone, that your immune system stays strong. We see the same process in a different way with the chemotherapy. With the chemotherapy, we see exactly the same process. When the holes get blocked, there is less immune system material available, and then consequently death. It has to be remembered that I just got to write something that I can tell you about it. Yeah. So, in looking at the muscle tissues and the way they are structured, the way they are flat or they are both. If you look at the smooth muscles, most of them are within the intestine, because there is no bone, and the structure has to be in so many ways opening structure muscle, where the lymph can pass through or create a positioning that the lymph as a magnetic field can transfer its fields through according the gaps created between the cells of the muscle. Muscle tissues in the stomach or in the organs of the inner part of the digestion system, be it your, especially like intestine, your neural system of your intestine is the exact copy of your brain neurons. Why? And what does exactly do? Because the neural system of the what you call the muscle tissue in the intestine creates a specific and actually gets ordered specifically from the brain, not through the neural system connection, but outside the neural system connection, in a plasmatic magnetic field. And it's important what system digests or allows to be passed through its wall, that its result can be the red blood cells which is needed for the feeding of the, what do you call it, the brain, in keeping it alive. Because something which I explained to the knowledge seekers in the past couple of days, with Elia being with us over a week now. 20-25% maximum of the energy you need is eaten, is by digestion system. 75-80% of the energy you need, as we spoke, is absorbed through the environment, and the surplus what is needed is given back to the environment as we need and we do. At the same time, the same kind of ratio information goes through the physical neural system. The rest is done through plasmatic interaction and connections. What does this mean? It means not all the information, what you feel in emotional part of your body, goes to your physical part of brain and then goes down the neural system. This means because these emotional part through the glands are connected directly and of the same material directly in the structure as the brain itself, they do not need the line of communication as the nerve system. They can interact with each other like the way you do in your communication, through plasma connection, through gravitational magnetic field connection. So even though the man thinks that all the information is carried through a neural system to the foot or to the toe or whatever, in fact only something like 20-25% of that, the same as the food consumption, is passed through the neural system. The neural system are so feeble that they cannot carry everything. It's done very on the basis of electromagnetic gravitational field and Magrav state between the cells of the brain and the glands. This has been organized by body over millions of years, that if the neural system to the gland is cut off, you can still run and operate. And most of the energy is there if you need it to use it. The same thing happens in your intestine. The same thing happens with your heart and the emotional part. The heart is too close to the emotional part, and we don't see that many nerves which come directly from the emotional part to the heart. That's why what you feel immediately transferred to the heart, because it's of the same kind of neural system for emotion. And you see, you get excited, you get too excited emotionally. What happens? You cannot breathe. What the reason for not being breathing is because the heart operation cannot support or extract so much energy from the lung, because it interacts directly with the emotion magnetic field, because it's of the same magnetic field level. So start looking at the structure of the body and the muscles, not just for physicality. The structure of the muscles around the body have several functions. One is for feeding lymph into the bone marrow. One is to carry informations in a different form and applications for communication. And then at the same time, your aura is not just made out of nowhere. The muscles release the gravitational magnetic field which are not necessary or they are too much through the muscle structure to the outside the body. If there was no muscle interaction and release of the gravitational magnetic field in their motion, you would have had no aura. You put a bone on a stick and on the table and try to find his aura. You call it aura, we call it the atmosphere of the body of the man, which is created by the interaction of the fields which the body releases in the environment as it does not need it, that the transfer and the gradient between what is not needed and what can be needed absorbs the energy from the environment back into the body. That's where your 80% of the energy from your environment comes. The people who speak about the aura try to make a reverse system. You will see one of you will be Mars and one will be Tesla. The field flow is not in one direction. By releasing gravitational magnetic field which is within the tissue, which is not matching or is surplus, or is what is needed from the environment, is radiated outwards, and due to the plasma within the muscles, just about next to the skin, and what is the third one outside, you create a field flow from the environment into the body, and you continuously absorb from your environment. And this is what I have been explaining for some time, that the energy we absorb or we eat is only 20%. Now you understand how you absorb the other 80% from your environment. What they call energy production in gravitational plasmatic field dictates what you absorb from the environment, the strength, the positioning, the height, and the diseases which the man will carry. And if the world of science understand this, a number of diseases, major what you call death diseases, will be stopped. But on the other hand, man cannot be immortal. There is a time when the fields deteriorate and the fields will dissipate, and then there has to be a division. So, life of immortality belongs to one and only one, because it's made of the totality. Those who fight to live one more day don't understand themselves how they can extend it to years and years, as they have forgotten the process. And part of this process comes to the process of understanding the operation between the muscles and the bone. By changing diet, you change the absorption and cross-section from the lymph through the bone, through the contraction and motion of the muscles into the lymph, that it guarantees your own survival. Your immune system, your bone marrow, is nothing but what you have decided to do through what you push through your bones, through your use of the muscles. So, if you push too much, or you don't push enough, or you have lose a muscle, you'll find you have certain different diseases. And this is very important. When you lose a muscle, you don't create the right gravitational magnetic field to be released from the body, which is not needed, for what is needed to be absorbed back in. So you can see the chain of event. Then you got to realize the rest of it is the physicality of getting your body from one place to another, and that's what the man has been tied up with for millions of years. Then you understand, if you can create gravitational magnetic field in the right way, in the right position, you have the full star formation within the structure of the body of man to move without a foot and leg. But man has changed the position and has forgotten what to do. look at, a lot of people speak about chakra. They never understand. If you look at the structure of the man and the organs within the structure of the man, you have a full star formation. And if you use the right muscle, you can create the right gravitational magnetic field in a given condition to reach the center just above the heart, to be able to lift the body of the man. You do not need to walk. But you have to know what muscle to use and how to use, because the only way you can do it is through the muscles. Because muscles create gravitational magnetic fields, and in so many ways, then that decides what your aura shall be. But auras are gravitational magnetic fields. Then you understand man does not need the leg and the arms, and in so many ways the digestion system to do with the crimes which is doing just for moving it and feeding it. Any question?
Is it a excuse me? Is it a certain rhythm that is creates that condition?
Yes.
And of course, if we go back to our instincts or what's been passed down from our previous generations, then we should already we should have that instinct within us.
I was in talking, I can't remember the name or the face, otherwise I'll tell you about it. Trying to remember. I met some guys. The guy said, I can jump, I can levitate. And I can jump 3 meters or 4 meters, and I can jump with my legs folded underneath me. It takes me 20 minutes, and then I can fly. I can jump, and they put mats, and he does this for show. And he said, I can levitate. I can fly without any legs. Maybe some of you have seen these videos. And I explained
Mr. Keshe, they call that yogic flying, I think. Sometimes.
Yeah, okay, that's what it is called. So I explained to him, what you do is not flying. What you do, you have learned, and if you look at these people, they need 15-20 minutes before they can do their, what do you call it, legless hopping, I call it. I call it legless hopping. It's not levitation, it's a legless hopping. So if you see them, they go what they call into meditation. And what they do, they concentrate the energies in a way in their brain, and then because they fold their legs, and look at the way they fold their legs, they have learned to release this energy which has been piled up in the brain, in one switch, all of it directly to the leg muscles. So what happens? You get yourself with the electric shock, you jump 20 meters. So what happens? The muscles, legs, release the energy, and that energy makes them to hop. So this is not levitation, this is not controlling, what do you call it, electromagnetic or magravs of the points of the body. There are those who can lift themselves from the ground. Very few have learned the technique. Those are who can organize the inertia Magrav of their body. And that inertia Magrav has a specific strength which can create levitation from the floor, because that they cannot do more than what it is in their body. And what they do, they create gravitation against the gravitational magnetic field, the same as what you do in your reactors. So they can take space a few centimeters from the ground. This is possible because if you can organize all all the gravitational magnetic fields of majority of the cells within the muscle, it is enough to be able to create levitation. You have to understand the difference between levitation and Magrav positioning. Levitation comes from inertia. Magrav position comes from dynamic plasma. You cannot have Magrav positioning in the body of the man because it's solid, sticks and long. Inertia is an attribute of mass of matter. Magrav is an attribute of dynamic plasma of the matter. When you put so many atoms, which each one you learn by now is a plasma of a proton and neutron, in totality, the interaction between every electron, proton, neutron within the plasma of every what you call atom creates a plasmatic magnetic field, which that plasmatic magnetic field is always in totality, gravitational field of it is more than its magnetic field, which gives you, let's say, the size of the stone. But as the gravitational is stronger than magnetic, it gives you the pull in respect to the planet. So you call this inertia. When you have a dynamic gravitational magnetic field system like the reactors you're building, then you collect the internal interaction of the magnetic gravitational field, which you dictate where it's going to be. Then you have a plasma and you have plasmatic magnetic or magravs. So inertia is an attribute of the solid matter. Gravitational magnetic field is the attribute of a dynamic plasma. Stars as a totality, which means what actually you do in a plasmatic dynamic system like Earth, you through rotation centralize these in one go. Where in the solid stone is flat. In the next week presentation of the workshop, we show you the difference. Today I show this difference to the knowledge seekers in the lab. I think I've seen enough jaws hanging today. John is laughing. Because up to now we taught you and we spoke with you in the matter state. Now we started speaking about the plasma state. Now I start showing you the real world of creation. In the next workshop, and actually we started with the children's teaching tomorrow in a very simple way, because to me, as I was explaining, it's no good teaching the children just a thing about magnetic fields and then trying to teach them about something else. These are fresh brains, they have never seen, they have never understood. Why should we teach them what is already obsolete and then trying to teach them anew? So we teach them the present knowledge on the edge of the science of the man directly to them. And then in the school they can teach the students, the teachers. We're going up top, not top bottom. We've done this in the universities in Africa, now we are doing it with them in respect to teaching of the students. And so we start the same thing with the youngsters from tomorrow. Because once they understand, and we do it in a fun way. I think a lot of parents will learn more than the children and become more understanding of the new understanding of the creation through the children's programs which we're setting up. Physics is fun because it's become understandable. That's why I studied physics, nuclear physics, because to me physics has to be understood, not to be forced to be remembered. And that's where the difference comes. Now we teach the youngsters the root. As computers, you and I would not like to play computer games that they play at the age of 4 or 5. They are 10 times better than the brothers who are 15 and 16 because they learn it much earlier in a much faster way. Try to understand the process. You can create magnetic fields within certain structure of the body of the man, which can create a dynamic gravitational magnetic field around you that you can move at any speed you like. But at the moment, it's beyond your imagination, so it's no use talking about it.
Well, I did have a question about that, inspired about your warning, and that would be regarding the inertia of matter. You might say the comparison of someone sitting on a couch and the dynamic plasma where the fields are moving. Would that be a comparison to Sufi dancing, what they call whirling dervishes? And that spinning dancing, they get into a certain special state, sort of a meditative state, and are whirling on the spot. Is it possible to use that to turn the inertia into a dynamic plasma?
In a limited way. Some people do it with the beats. Our body, if we did not have the heartbeat, would have been 100 times heavier than what we think. You can do it with rotation, you can do it with the beats. Our heartbeat does that partially. But what you call the dancing, I've seen, I know exactly what you're talking about. But that comes again, as I spoke with the holy people, the religious people. When you knock back and forth, you create a vibration, a magnetic field. In a way, what is in the magnetic field of your physical part, in moving back and forth, it keeps on hitting your emotional part and reverse. And that gives a sense of satisfaction, a sense of being close. That's why you become, what you call it, holy, as they call it. If you see people who go to stand by the Great Wall in the beautiful land of Jerusalem, they rock. If you see people who read holy books, they rock. That rocking is a kind of levitation. It's been created by the beat. In a way, watch the rhythm. As I spoke before about tapping of the foot. You have a brain structure which is mainly developed for your physical part, which is magnetic gravitational. Then you have your emotional part, which creates totally different kind of gravitational magnetic because of its structure. Now you move back and forth. You put a pendulum inside the water. Then you see exactly what happens to it. You start absorbing energy. And that energy gives some sort of drug addiction or comfort, that the body becomes detached and more energy goes in the direction of the emotional part.
Is that why grandmothers are addicted to rocking chairs?
Very much so. That's why we do when we have pain too. A lot of people, when they have pain, they rock. Because they take energy from the physical part directly into the emotional part. Or they give from the emotional part, which is much stronger, to the physical part, to create a field which very much is adrenaline and does not work through the neural system. This is what I was explaining to you. A lot of information does not go to the neural system. So, in a way, you put as I said, you put an apple on a stick and put it in a water tank and shake the water tank, and you see what happens to the apple. The forces, the fields of the water goes to the apple, and in so many ways comes back from the apple when it's collected back to it. So now you have a field which is that. You do the same thing in rotating your reactors, and that's why we put that center pin. A lot of people talk about the Keshe Foundation, talking whatever about the left-hand motions and why we don't show it. Last week, I explained, or this past few days, I explained to the knowledge seekers. And they see things, but because they don't understand it, as they said, Kai said, do not blame them because they don't understand. But we open the books slowly. Go back at the picture of the reactors hanging. When we had the reactors of Arman hanging, we saw weight reduction. And now when we start putting them the correct way down, the motors down, and the reactor sitting on top, we saw, with just one reactor, we saw the weight increase, as Arman told me. And I asked the knowledge seekers, if they understood, they never understood the principle. Because when it's hanging, only in so many ways the gans of the CO2 is working. Because we don't have any nanomaterial on the hanging part, because the hanging is on the motor side, on the top side. So you find a balanced gravitational magnetic field with the reactors, which can interact directly with the Earth. Is because it's CO2, it's very soft, it's open, so magnetic field, gravitational fields are the two, one pushing and one creating the sphere, one is pulling. So the pull, which is to the center, was hardly there to the center core, the little sphere we put in the middle. So gravitational less, magnetical field more, gravitational of magnetical field of the Earth in interaction, it pushes the body up, so you lose weight. And that's why we start seeing loss of weight so rapidly. You turn it upside down, the core, gravitational magnetic copper, is in the middle. Copper oxide is heavier because it's in the nano-layer state. It still has a dynamic field than the CO2, so the gravity has increased. The pull of the fields to the center has increased. So what we saw with one motor, we start increasing weight. And that's what I said to Armin, be careful the motor doesn't go through your plate. You could not understand it at the time. I explained to them later on, as I explained to you. Most probably, if you can turn upside down with your head down, and you can shake your legs on the top, you'll be able to fly. You will levitate from your head up, but you got to know where to put the field. You got to understand why you achieve things and not just something happens. I have told Armin, if he creates, now his motors are due back Monday, Tuesday, we start rolling again, because there was some corrections, some, what do you call it, points needed to be added to not put them pressure on the motors. If we can produce that condition and in a very simple way, now they understand how to increase the weight or how to reduce the weight, then we'll see, we start seeing the true effect. I told you it's the time of the harvest with the science, with what we do. There is a German guy, Mr. whatever his name is, send me an email. I'm going to put everything on the internet in German. Don't forget, these are the Third Reich people. First thing is in German. I put it in German, in English, and in Russian, and in Japanese. That what you showed in Fukushima is all rubbish, because everything is in there. And then he says in his writing, you do not do some mass there left. Whatever is positive that it shows the extraction of the radiation, he ignores. And to his calculation, nothing has happened. So let the fools stay fools. But try to understand exactly what you do. You increase the heartbeat. You increase the rhythm of the brain. You decrease the physicality emotion, then the emotional part of the physicality, then you fly. You fly with a full protection, because then your physical part will create a Magrav, what you call your aura, which gives you the protection. You don't have to be afraid of the birds and the bees which are on your way, because they never touch you. You create your own atmosphere. When you put your legs under you, the fields get concentrated. That's why you can do this jumping. When you dance, you increase the rapid expansion of the fields. So what happens? The gravity moves in a way, and the field strength compared to the physical magnetic Magrav of your brain in respect to your heart. You got to understand the gravitational magnetic field which each section of the body creates, and if you can connect them in the right way, you create enough fields to be able to move without the man, without the feet. Not just to hop like a rabbit and say, I created. because it's much easier to move the upper part and let the bottom part to follow. Because you're hanging a coat from the top. So it doesn't matter how much trousers, how long it is. Synchronizing the amount of the oxygen that crosses the, what do you call it, the energy of the plasma of the air which crosses the lung into the blood. You synchronize the amount of energy which is transferred in the lung, in the heart, in the plasma condition of the gans into AC that creates a right heartbeat, and the balance of it is pumped at the same strength continuously into emotional part of your brain. Oh boy, you fly. But I don't know about your legs. They are not needed. You do not levitate because now you're dealing with dynamic position. You're not dealing with release of the field. Blood is dynamic. If you look at the shape of the shoe crab, then you understand that animal, if wherever it came from, has the shape of a spaceship. Because it's remembered where it came, that's how it is. It's trying to achieve that shape that it can live, but it hasn't done it for 4 million years. It's part of its memory bank. It has to achieve that shape. It's part of its DNA. It has to achieve that shape that it can go freely. And look at this structure. Then you understand. If you can synchronize the breathing, the flow of the energy extracted through the lungs, reducing the heartbeat to a certain magnetic gravitational field release enough for the brain, you have two cores. So it's one in your emotional part and one in your supply part. Twinity. You create your own field. You can do, man can do, our ancestors in so many ways could do, but it was too much, the physicality was too interesting. But it sits in your DNA. It's part of the DNA that the scientists in the future understand. Next question.
Quick one and little bit aside of what we are talking about. What exactly the acupuncture is doing with the nerve system?
Acupuncture concentrates, centralizes the field from the it's very much, you have inertia. With acupuncture you centralize it. That's why you see acupuncture works. The acupuncture centralizes the fields around the needle. Don't forget, your body is got iron content, and the acupuncture beams are made of steels or irons. Titanium is the same, steel. So you kind of matching the fields, concentrate, and then when you have a concentration of the fields, you change the dynamism, and then in so many ways you release what you call the amino acids, which are in a certain point which cause the pain. At the same time, some points, if you put the amino acid, the acupuncture nail, you enter the neural system, which is stronger in that field, then you can touch the emotion. So acupuncture, some of the Chinese doctors understood or understand this process, and they use it for release of different kind of pressures in the brain or mental conditions. But that needs a very, very high expertise, understanding of the use of what you call chakras. I see Elia being an acupuncturist. She says, she understood something. Okay. Okay, then end the question.
So isn't the acupuncture point end of the nerves in the body? At least that's what I know.
I can't hear you, Lotmil. Can you speak a bit more clearly?
Isn't the acupuncture points like end of the nerves in the different parts of the body?
Not really. If you understand a lot of muscles where they push what do you call it, pin in, does not have any nerves. It connects with the copper lines. You don't see nerves in every line of every fiber. This is what Elia just told you. You use magnesium. One of the reasons you have magnesium, and in a way, because it allows certain creation of vibration and looseness between the fibers, that the copper within muscle tissues become the conductor and transfer of the energy in the wavelength or in the gravitational magnetic field level, which the nerves further down the line absorb, understand, and transfer to the brain. When you push your finger, or when you put a nail in your, or a pin in your foot, you don't touch most of the time you don't touch the nerve. What you do, you create a field change which the copper within the structure of the, what do you call it, the muscle, because of its change, creates a condition, the transfer of the information, that the neural system works on the same basis, receives, and then it becomes what you feel in your brain. There is a nail in my shoe. That's what I said. 80% of the neural system or feeling is transferred through fields, not through the neural system. In time when we speak about neural system, I explain this. That's why the minute you touch something, you feel it. That's why when you have a temperature control, when you put a hot water on your finger, you feel the cold water. Nerves don't go in every single piece. There'll be more nerves than the muscles, so what's the use of the muscles? So what has happened in the neural system? By positioning of the magnesium, that it makes it loose, and having copper inside the tissue linings of the muscle properties. Don't forget, when we speak, we don't speak spots of what do you call it, copper everywhere. Copper in a certain plasmatic magnetic field as a GANs creates a field. So the minute this field is touched, it transfers that information to the neural system which is nearest to it. Very much like a what do you call it, Wi-Fi, what do you call it, masks around the city you walk around. So not everything goes through the nerve. So when you have acupuncture, if you touch a nerve, you damage a nerve. There is no way with acupuncture you can go in the nerve. You go in the nerve in the back of your neck, you're paralyzed. You go into the muscle with acupuncture, which due to the copper gravitational magnetic field which operates, it transfers that information to the nerve nearest to it. It's very much, you have what do you call it, these communication masks. It goes and reaches millions of telephones around, but at the end is lined to the ground and it goes out. Still there is a cable somewhere. The nerve system is that cable. The rest of the communication does not need it. And then when it comes back, the information to move your foot because you're walking on the nail, up to the point of where the nerve is, the information from that point is the information which is transferred to the copper, and then it's transferred into the muscle reaction. The PN junction, what they call what do you call it, sodium potassium junction, pardon? Pump. There is no such a thing. They may so elaborately show it, this goes there, that goes there. I studied the whole structure as they explain it. It's as good as true as the earth is the center of the universe. Look at the structure. Sodium, potassium. What is potassium? 40. What is sodium? One creates gravitational magnetic field when it gets filled up, slightly strong, it pushes or creates a distance in the other one size. Have you ever tuned a piano? A little twitch, a little movement, change the noise. There we go. The muscle fiber pulls, or because the one is distant to the slightly, or loosens and becomes contraction or retraction. The
so
rest is...
the copper is extension to the nerve.
Yes, it took us 10 years to find that out. It took us 10 years to find that out in research. Let me explain to you something now that you spoke about this foot mill. As of next week, Keshe Foundation Malta, with the pictures will be posted, the office is open. So thanks to our Keshe Foundation colleagues in Malta, it's a beautiful office. It's already, they have put a sign of the Keshe Foundation above the office. The registration has more or less to be completed by the notaries, hopefully within the next few days. It'll be open. So if you have anything to do to understand about the Keshe Foundation Health, it'll go to Malta. You can send it to health@ Malta Keshe Foundation, which is HATM Keshe Foundation, KF, or we call it HATM-KF, HATM Keshe Foundation, AF. And then we start looking at 40 different cases of, what do you call it? You call them diseases? Diseases for research. So legally from next week, Keshe Foundation at Malta as a health center is open to worldwide public. When your application comes, when we receive it, you automatically receive certain forms that you have to fill in, and certain conditions have to agree that you have to provide your blood cell. But what are the conditions? You've done the contract, you've done the papers. Diagnosis, blood. We need a letter from a doctor to confirm the disease, and Elia is just opening it. It'll be posted on the Keshe Foundation forum for Malta. It's nothing to do with the Keshe Foundation Holland. This is what, like we gave the link to the, what do you call it, the books which the Keshe Foundation New Zealand did that you could go to. This gives you the link to the Keshe Foundation Malta. What is needed is blood test confirming the disease, the diagnosis, image investigation like a scan or MRI, medical documents confirming the diagnosis, donation agreement per case indicated for each disease in a list which you've given. And then it gives you the list which the foundation is researching on through their doctors around the world. And all the documents what you're to supply will go directly to Dr. Elia in Bulgaria, and then the doctors will decide in what stage they want to research, and we start compiling data in appropriate manner scientifically that other scientists around the world can use. Dr. Elia has decided to go through what we have done research for 15 years. It covers things like Alzheimer's, ILS, cancer, status of post-cancer, tumor, COPD, amputation, ADHD, and leukemia, sports injuries, back injuries, coma, and then each one has been looked at how much contribution the foundation is looking for the case. If you cannot raise the foundation, or what they call the donation, which is indicated, we look. We do not refuse cases during the financial basis, because on the basis of financial cases. But you have to be able to raise the funds that the foundation can pay the doctors to put the time and the researchers to develop the systems for every case. So as of next week, Keshe Foundation Malta Health is open internationally, and then we have number of doctors around the world which work with us, like in Australia. You'll be passed on. What does it say?
They want to post them email and the webpage. They didn't hear the email.
The email is yes. Can you write it? HAT is health@ Malta Keshe Foundation, KF. HATMKF @gmail.com. MKF @gmail.com. So we have received the Keshe Foundation, HATMKF @gmail.com. This goes directly to Maltese Keshe Foundation, Maltese Keshe Health Center. They have received authorization to be able to use the Keshe Foundation Health internationally for Malta. This brings a lot of jobs to Malta and a lot of security in other hands. And through that, immediately it goes to doctors around the world. To what do you call it, to assess and collaboration with the Dr. Elia Shilmother, what do you call it, she has taken the responsibility to do this. And what we have entered into the, not only, as we said, now we are involved in Fukushima, we are involved in energy with our companies. We entered into the world of the Ebola. Ebola material was, as Ebola, apparently, as we understand, tested, and there must have been, they don't tell us any data because we haven't managed to speak today, but I received the confirmation through emails that it has gone to the central ministries in nations for the test as of today. So we have gone through the second stage. So in reality, now we are covering all aspects of the technology, but the research and development at the center does not stop. We have seen, unfortunately, with me being deliberately poisoned, we had to slow a lot of things because of the uncertainty about the situation. Now we are back in, there's a lot of security restrictions which we have put up, and we'll get more some words. So everything, that's correct, @MSKFA. This goes directly to Malta, but they're advertising on the website of the Keshe Foundation. Yes, what is it? No, yeah. So let me finish with this and then we go to this. So in so many ways, we started teaching at the Keshe Foundation in a very, very radical and very fast way, and this is according to our roadmap of 2014. The way we see things, it is time to release the whole knowledge in one go, and you will see more and more of it. I enjoyed seeing what the New Zealand Keshe Foundation has done. It has made it accessible. We've seen a couple of other foundations around the world if they can use their work for translating it to their languages, of course you can. I don't think there will be any problem with that with our friends in New Zealand, because they got the knowledge through the Keshe Foundation worldwide. So what they've done, as we said from the beginning, once we have it, we share it. They've done the work for the English language, and now it's available for the others to use it to translate the knowledge worldwide. I've received an email, I think, from China as well. I don't think there's any problem. It's not a copyright. The copyright sits with Keshe Foundation. So there is no problem as long as we all understand percentage of what you achieve has to go according to the ethos of the Keshe Foundation for further development of the knowledge in your country, supporting your people in your country, and everything else which you stand for. And the percentage goes to the Keshe Foundation Center for the research that we can support our work to. Otherwise we have to ask for licenses, and this is not going to happen, not this time around. We leave it to your own ethos. As I said, you come nowhere. You work with the correct way, you will achieve a lot of it. As you can see, what do you call it, Rick putting the country, we need huge amount of donations. Where is?
From Sam's, I just wanted to thank him for the health.
What do you mean?
Sandos.
Yes.
He donated. I have email with receipt and everything that he's donated on it. So I just wanted to thank you.
Oh yeah, somebody Sandos earlier wants to thank for the donation of how much is it? Yeah, it's 40 euro. Even €1. €1 is money because what we don't need we use for other purposes to develop the technology. You got to realize we were in so many ways informed of what was happening, but we couldn't see how it was happening. Now we know how it's happening, that my life was, we were told, is in danger. But now we know how the King of Belgium planned it. So we take actions, we take steps. Criminal action will be taken against the government of Belgium very soon. Now we have the evidence of attempted murder. Now they gave us what we wanted to do our job. We sit on the table, we solve this matter, or we file a case against the whole proposition. You do not go and poison somebody. I don't touch any rat poisons. Why should I have cyanide in my body? And I don't eat the rats. That's the job of the kings. So, arson. Yeah? So we sit and talk with governments. We are directly speaking to several governments regarding the terrorism that we have the technology to transfer. We speak to the governments and to the scientists around the world. We are not arrogant. We are practical. And we share it practically with everyone and in so many ways. You got to understand something. There is an old say in English. They say, if you throw enough shit, some of it will stick. So this is the philosophy and the ethos which the Belgian government has used the international governments through there to throw so much shit in the past 10 years about me and my work, that some of the nations and government came to understand, they accepted it to be true. And now that they've seen how easily we share it, governments are turning their back. Because they know this was done, it's a what you call misinformation on the high level, that you use it yourself. The whole misinformation setup was they throw so much rubbish and lies about the Keshe Foundation being a terrorist organization that the American government believed them. Now they see, no, we are not. So all the Keshe Foundation supporters around the world, they become terrorists of knowledge, sharing, equality and peace. I want to show which one of the terrorist organizations has ever done this. So in so many ways, now we draw a line. We share freely, we support governments freely, and we stand right to share everything we have. Not only with people, scientifically, or individually. The Keshe Foundation has entered the medical world in a very, very big way. We are not putting 1 or 2 lines down. We are putting 40, and maybe we double it in the coming months. But now, if you're a doctor and you've been waiting to come and help and work and understand our work, these health workshops, which is set up by Dr. Elia, is the base of it. She will organize, we organize, there's a plan for 3 days teaching medical in November. So, if we can achieve it in December or early next year, we do seminars of 3 days. So you can be here. It has to be in Italy, unfortunately. So you can rerun seminars on health directly. Most probably it'll be like the first 3 days of the first week of each month. Or then at the end of it, that if you cannot be here in a week, you can be at the back end the following week. And all these lectures will be live, Skype delivered on the live stream. So it's not exclusive, but if you are here, as Elias says, when I'm here, I learn more because it's direct interaction. We sometimes sit till 1 o'clock in the morning and talk rubbish and learn from each other. So this is the way it's going to work. We start sharing knowledge with the public, with the health, tomorrow with the children, and then at the same time with the universities and governments. As I said, we will touch the fabric of the society in every sense, from the fish in the sea to the man sitting in the White House at the highest point. because when we change the climate, when we do the CO2, the fish has a life to live too. So it's affected for what we do and the way the knowledge is spread. The CO2 kit unit will be out definitely on Monday. We had to change the tape slightly, as I said, and I was told by the webmasters it'll be out tomorrow or by Monday it'll be 100%. There is a long 20 version and the teaser you can click on to watch either one to go to the, what do you call it, to purchase. Is there any other question? Let's see what is this on the side. We're not there. Nobody's there. I've been talking to myself.
No, you've been we fully received your message, I think. There's a lot of things to think about there.
Elia wants me to read what we've done. We tried to answer a few questions which come during the week you send to the health section. As long as they're not ridiculous, we try to answer it. And if it's beyond what you call it, just for fancy questions, we don't see it. We are blind. It says, hi Elia, I do have a question. Having in mind that gravitational magnetic fields play a role on mass creation, is there common proportion in Magrav fields in human body which determine the human bone mass creation? Is there some part of the body which particularly conduct this process of the field distribution? The mass ratio of your bone is done entirely and totally by the physical part of the brain and is dictated by the needs of the survival of the what do you call it, the emotional part. There is no other factor to it. So your brain decides, and it mainly comes through your DNA. On the mass, if you see a bone deficiency in one family and then you see it in the children, because it sits in the bone marrow, it sits in the DNA and RNA. So, and there is something which I know a lot of you know, and I've mentioned this before. If a DNA change stays within the structure for more than 25 years, it's become the, what do you call it, permanent feature of the DNA. So, as I was saying yesterday to Elia, if you have a defect at the age of 15 and you have a child at the age of 45, that defect will become part of the DNA of your children if you have a child at 45 old. There is something which I have to tell you, because this is something in the back of my head. If you don't mind me, I mentioned this before we go further, because Elia wants me to answer a question. I see and I get referred to a lot of children, especially in age below 7, 8, by mature parents. As you know, we are becoming a different kind of society. We marry late, or we marry the second time, and in that process, the marriages, we are already over age of 40, 45, and most probably, as we see, our wives will have children at their later age because they're too busy, or it's a second marriage. The wife or the female is in the age of 40 plus, which is very common, and then the father is in the 50s or early 60s or 40 plus. And then the interaction of this thing is beautiful children. But you got to understand, as we speak about DNA and change of the bone structure and what stays in your DNA after 25 years, you find, according even to research, that a lot of these children who are born to what we call mature parents, in the first 7 to 8 years of their life, look to be physically or mentally not up to the others, especially in their speaking. They speak very late. They don't speak till they are 4 years, 5 years old. And it creates a lot of worries in the parents. This is because your DNA has matured but is not settled completely. And then you have information from your birth till age of 20-25, which has to be transferred to this child, plus what you had till age of you have born. There is a lot of process of maturing going on in the DNA itself, not in the child. So you find your children, if you're from mature parents, they take them to all sorts of doctors. They're dyslexic, they are, what do you call it, autistic. You have a perfect child. Do not waste your time, do not go the child around like a yo-yo from one doctor to another. You have a very emotional, perfect child, because usually the second marriages is out of love, not pressures of when you were young, you got married, and that love and care is transferred to the child. This process of settling of the DNA takes time. You find your child becomes a brilliant, intelligent child after 7, 8. This is all to do with DNA. Then you have the most beautiful geniuses on your hand. Because now the child carries the whole information from 240s, that's 80 years of experience between the two parents. So my advice to you is, if you're a mature parent and you have children, and they tell you, the teacher says it's autistic, is this, is that, this is a natural process. 80% of these children talk late because they have everything. They understand the feeling, and then it comes time, you just tell them to shut up when they're 7 years old. Allow your child to mature and live a normal life. Do not bombard it and not take it from one doctor to another. It's a DNA maturity. In a way, it carries the knowledge of you and your partner, which the DNA has to digest in conjunction with RNA. It sits in RNA, but it needs to transfer its knowledge, its strength into DNA, and that takes time. So you got to realize the oldest part of your body is 9 years old. So it takes time to see the full process through. Do not, what do you call it, use your children, they say he's autistic and take him, and then is handicap. You have the most gorgeous children, but they do not talk, because they don't see any need for talk. They carry the energy and the information inside them. And talking is a waste of energy, and you find them, they don't do that. And they behave in a certain pattern that it looks like autistic, but they're happy with what they have. Give them room. 7, 8 years old, you have a gorgeous children on your hand. Please, I know exactly what I'm talking about. Do not play with the child of with the life of your child. Keep putting them different chemicals, different sedatives, different better brain control, because then you create the damage. Be patient. They are most beautiful children, and they become highly intelligent because they had 7 years of listening and they hear everything. And when they become active, then they use all that knowledge. They learn languages very well, very fast. They become scientists and everything else.
This question
is a question is that about a woman who had removal of all uterus and the lymph system of the lower abdomen 3 weeks ago. She's still in a hospital for her body produces excess of lymph in her abdomen. Time being, she's
produce about 25-30 liters
of lymph
produced.
is drained out. What can be the way to stop this condition? I am not a doctor to tell you, but there is a way you can do it. What has happened, this is the confusion in the conversion of the material in the what do you call it, in the abdomen. It's very much exactly what you're talking about is exactly, if you go back to the workshops in the past, when we were talking that no oxygen ever crosses the water, the lung to the blood, and how you get pneumonia and you produce water in your lungs. It's the same process. Something has moved that it converts most of the energy of the body into, when it crosses the wall of the body, into the gans of the water. This is to do with operational lymph. Something has been touched, and you have to bring it into balance. But I'm not a doctor. I can know, but I know how the process is done. This is a continuous conversion of the lymph into water at the energy level of the, what do you call it, liquid of the lymph. And that's why you have so much liquid created in the same process as you create a liquid in your lungs, 6 liters, 8 liters, 6 liters per lung or whatever, sometimes in occasions. It's just something in the intestine has been touched. In the process of removing lymph, some, what do you call it? They move the kitchen, so what do you expect to have? As I say, lymphs are the kitchens of the body. So the cook doesn't know what he's having in his hand. Everything comes in. So that's why I keep on insisting. Please, if you're a doctor, if you're a surgeon, I know we have a number of surgeons around the Keshe Foundation who listen to every program. Do not, and teach your colleagues at any cost, remove lymph. I will teach you how to clean lymph from cancer. It's very easy. It is extremely easy to clean lymph from cancer, from anything else. You can even remove, what you call it, B12 from the lymph in a very simple process through the tongue. And then you find out that the lymph, the what do you call it, you don't need to remove lymph to create this confusion and mayhem in the body. Is there another question?
No, I think we should end it there. That's a very full workshop and lots of information, I would say.
We've been on for long enough, you're correct. I'm going to answer this last question with Elia, let me go, otherwise she says you sit here for the rest of the week. How can we restore the emotional side and get back love for life?
This is about depression,
depression. Oh, very easy. It is very easy. Go back to what I said a few minutes ago. Look at the pendulum. Look at the pendulum, the way you shake. It all, yeah, the way you rock, what I call a pendulum. You find you need to change, if there is such a case, to understand the reason for the emotion. If you understand the reason for the emotion, then you can stabilize it through systems for 3 to 6 months and just disappears. It's when you have like suicidal thoughts. Suicide is a link between the emotion, which is not getting what it wants, and it sees the physicality as a burden. So you want to get rid of the physicality. So you have to be able, and then it creates the information in that way, and the body just does the rest, because emotional side doesn't go and hang himself. It creates a specific information, and the physicality, what do you call it, carries out the wish of the emotion. This is one of the things I was talking to the national securities about, this mayhem, these people who wrap themselves in bomb and they just go and blow themselves up. You have to understand why a man does this, and we have the knowledge and the facilities within the structure of the Keshe Foundation to allow these things not to happen. In time, we'll explain it. I was explaining this to the security people. Because you don't need to go and bomb every bunker to kill 1 or 2. If you can reach the emotional part of 1 million in an area given, that they even forget what they are there for, and they start kissing and cuddling each other, so kissing and killing each other, is more effective bomb. Unless the plan is to kill as many as that you can sell more guns for it. That's a different principle. That's what I call Rothschild ethos. And we don't work that way. Even the Rothschilds are fed up doing it. Look at the reality of the war. It's very important when this question is put on the table. 40 days war in Palestine created 12 billion of repairs needed to be done with the bombs which has landed on this, in this little, what I call, closed prison. That wasn't the only damage. In people not having and being under psychological pressure, which is created because of not having things, you have got 35,000 Palestinians becoming part of IS. Now you see the emotional pressure through the physical act. And now we're trying to solve the problem of this mayhem. And what do? They wrap themselves with God knows all sorts of things. They rape people. They contaminate themselves with Ebola, fly half of the way around the world to destroy. These souls, these brain waves can be reached. The knowledge sits within the Keshe Foundation. We have the equipment, we can show it. But it's for all the nations, not the exclusivity of one or two. Because when we travel in space, when we reach certain gravitational magnetic fields, all your passengers can go crazy and do all sorts of funny things, because the effect of the gravitational magnet of the environment can affect the behavior if it reaches the emotional part. What are you going to do? Have a mayhem and riot? Or you change the fields within the environment of your craft that it brings back stability. This we don't do just because it's for a case which is going on or will come in the next 10 years or 2 years. It's something which I've developed deliberately, and I have tested it extensively in past 5 years. So now it's available, situation has come up. As much as we can help in one way, we can help the others. Why a person commits suicide, or why a person goes and jump off a cliff, or why a person wishes to have ILS, and one person wraps himself with whatever you call it and blows himself up to hurt the others. This position of detachment from physicality, then it has no value in the emotional side, and you carry out the act. When you can show the emotional, there is a care, there is a love, there is a need, and if there's been a misjustice, can be sorted. And you can do that, you don't need to talk. You can transfer the energy in a direct field conversion. I showed this on the table to the knowledge seekers today. You can make a plasmatic magnetic field to move in any direction you like, back, forth, or rotate. This is what we're going to teach next time. And then it comes into the health applications. And then we need the scientists to be able to build the systems very rapidly that we can get out of this present mayhem. Thank you very much for your time. We've gone too far this time, but at least we tried to answer a lot of things. We see you tomorrow night at 7 o'clock Central European Time. There'll be exactly half an hour. We will not go beyond half an hour to 40 minutes. It's for the children, but I think the adults will learn more. If you have any children who want to be online, even if they are 18 years, 19 years, or very young, put them online. I know there are other scientists, young people in America and in New Zealand and Australia who want to be part of the Keshe Foundation. Come online. We learn from you as much as we hope teach you a new life of way of living. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. I'll make sure to bring my
Thank you very much.
Little son there too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye.
I would bring the child inside.
Okay, Rick, if you want to end that, please. Oh, John, you have to take this out. Rick?
I think you have to end it there, Vince.
Yes. So ends the, what is it, the third?
Oh, you mean the announcement part? Sorry.
The announcement. Thank you.
Okay, for the folks at home, this ends the fourth Keshe health teaching workshop. And sorry for the late start today for people that were tuned in and the extra long session, but I think it was.
Okay, we're started.
Okay, this is a belated start to the fourth Keshe health workshop. And we're online with Dr. E.Kostova in the Spaceship Institute, as well as Mr. Kesh and a couple of other of the knowledge seekers at the Spaceship Institute. So we'll switch right over to Dr. E.Kostova, and she will introduce the workshop here, and we'll carry on with it.
Yeah, hello everybody, and sorry for the delay. Hello from all of us from Spaceship Institute. Today's subject of the health session is the musculoskeletal system, posture, and relation with emotional part of the brain. And on your screen on the live stream, you see the picture which is represented all the muscle system of your body, and you are able just to see how by part the muscles just that added one by one to your skeletal system. Actually, the muscular system is an organ system consisting of skeletal, smooth, and cardiac muscles. The function of the muscular skeletal system is to control movement, to assist the circulation of the blood and lymph, to make a posture, and to take care about the temperature of your body. We are able to separate the different muscles like skeleton muscles, smooth muscles, and the muscle of the heart or cardiac muscle. Then, could you please the picture to Vince? Just picture 2 and 3.
Okay.
I'm waiting. I just explained that the pictures 2 and 3 you make post all together or one by one is giving you perspective that how after the skeleton was builded, after the skeleton layer by layer, it's adding you different kind of muscles related of the functions what they do. And above the muscles, you have the skin. So actually, this is 3 main stage of building of your body. So the next picture, number 3, gives you the movement of the body, different kind of, this is like a running. And just to see how the skeleton moves itself, how when you add the tissue, like a muscles and connective tissue, movement just organize it. And what is the view of the movement of the bones related with muscles. Each muscle starts from one bone and connected with tendons. Tendon, that's the connective tissue, which connect the muscle to the other bone. In that way, different kind of muscles, depending of their shape. So it's really interesting. You are able
also
right to search for number 9. It's interesting. You are able to search for more larger pictures of the microscopic view of the muscles, and then you find out that pattern, that the nucleus, they're organized like 3 by 3, and some unit of 3 just face it, other one unit of 3. I see they are not changed. Okay, so now it's visible for you. This picture is small. Just give a longitudinal and just cut it through, how is it in English, like vertical, cross section of the myofibers. So you see the blue spots is the nucleus of the cells, and they are formed units 3 by 3. Okay. Then we go for the number 10.
Is that the right one, Elia?
Number 10.
I think that's the correct number 10, Vince.
Okay, thank you. Spaceship History?
It's number 11 up there. I think it's number 11 up now, Vince.
If you're not able to find number 10, you are able to show number 11. It's no problem. Several pictures, they show the same things, but in different kind of deepness.
Yes, okay, I'm at the right spot then.
Okay. So number 10 pictures give you the view that each muscle contains packages of myofibers, and each package of myofibers contains different collection of the myofibrils. And each myofibril consists two kind of fibers. It is actin and mucin. So actually it's representation again of layering of the structure. So one big structure contains packages of small structures. This small structure contains packages of the same structure. That I wanted to show with this picture. There you see the difference between different kind of muscles. We have mainly three different kinds of muscles. This is the smooth muscle. They are inside of all internal organs like a stomach, small intestine, large intestine, gallbladder, bladder, womb, different tubes organization like urethra, ureter, inside of the part of the kidney, all the vessels, what you have like artery, like a veins, they have the muscle organization through all them longitudinous. So the smooth muscles, they shape it again regarding the organ, what kind of function has an organ, where they are placed. They are involuntary because they work 24 hours. Something what Mr.Ke said about the smooth muscles is that their regulation is controlled by emotional part of the brain, so they are not able to be shut down from emotional part of the brain because their control and their base of the all main functions in the body. Their control is from the emotional part, but they are never shutting down. They're working 24 hours. So you never take care and you don't put any conscious control how your stomach work, how your intestines work. They just work without you knowing, and you die without you put attention 24 hours. Other type of muscles, they are skeletal muscle. There are more than 640 in your body. Before the pictures before that gives you the shape of different kind of skeletal muscles. Difference between the skeletal and smooth is that the control of skeletal muscles is conscious, is voluntary, and it's come from cerebellum, the main part physical part of your body. So the control of smooth muscles is related with emotional part of your brain, and the control of skeletal muscles is from physical part of your brain. And the skeletal muscles, they are striated. They make some kind of line shape when you look them under the microscope. They attach each bone one to another. Then we have the muscle of the heart. This is the cardiac muscle. And the cardiac muscle have a function of a smooth muscle and also the function like a skeletal muscle. So it's regarding again of explanation of Mr.Ke. It means that the cardiac muscle is controlled by emotional part of the brain, and also it's connected with somehow with physical shape and organization of myofibers. They control the movement of all bones of your body. Okay, then we go to the picture 3. It's giving you all the muscular skeletal system and the names. Muscles separate because of function. They may extend some joint or some bone or flexed or adduct. They separate in the back and front also because of them function. In different part of your body, you have different kind of organization of myofibers, and after they organize like a package, they form one muscle. And these muscles start from one bone connected to the other one, and when the muscle fibers just contract, they move that part of your body. So the next picture, number 5, giving you different shape of the muscle fiber, how they organize around your body regarding the function of that part of your body. So you see the circular shape of your muscle around all the entrance or exit of your body. Mouth is one of the enters of your body. So around your mouth, you need a circular muscle to be able to make different kind of movement, depending of the shape of the subject what you put inside. Actually, like Mr.Ke said, shape of the muscles depends how much these muscles has to be involved in the pump function of the lymph, and what is the direction of the body part which that muscle supposed to be protect and supposed to be carrying the lymph vessels inside and to pump of that part to be able that muscle to transform the lymph from bones to the lymph system. Okay, so we have also convergent organization of the fibers, multipin, unipinnate, parallel, bipinnate. It's again regarding what part of the body this muscle cover, but mainly function of all the muscles regarding the Ke Foundation technology is to support the circulation of the lymph and pumping function of the lymph from the bones to the lymph system. Okay, then we go to the next picture. Part of the brain. Is it the cardiac muscle is striated, branched in the different shape? It's again regarding what is the function of the chamber of the atrium of the heart, and regulation is involuntary. So it means the heart working 24 hours without your conscious control. Then we go to the next picture. It's number 6. Number 6 pictures give you view of different kind of muscles and what is them organization in shape. So skeletal muscles, they are more long and they stick to each other like a sticks. Smooth muscles, they are more played and connect to each other with conjunctions. And cardiac muscle, how you see, they have both features. They are long, but also they are connected with the junctions. Then we go to the next picture. It is number 8. The number 8 gives you microscopic view of each of the muscles. It means how the cells, myoid cells inside of each type of muscle, they are organized. It is also regarding their function. So the smooth muscles, they are controlled by autonomic nervous system and they work involuntary. So they are just placed like you see, the myoid cells, they organize it to each other to connect side by side. Then the cardiac muscle, you see the myocyte inside, they're also organized and connect side by side, but they have more longer shape. And skeletal muscle, just they is so long, but they are striated. They make specific unit which is repeat itself like a pattern. Then I will be show what is this unit. But now just to see how they organize it under microscopic view. So when you look at the different kind of view of muscles, it's like in number 8, you are able, if you just think it's not that cells, if you think this is the sky, this is the same view. When you see the blue spots in the picture 9, this is the nucleus in each myoid cells. And through them organization, you are able to see that the nucleus makes some kind of 3-star formations. It means they are somehow organized 3 by 3 by 3 by 3. It's picture number 9.